Hey, what's up everyone, Oliur here. So I've been using the M1 MacBook Pro as my main machine for the last 2 months now, basically since release. Wanted to give you a long-term review of it. I also want to thank NordPass for sponsoring this video. We all know how important it is to have different passwords for all of your online accounts. NordPass is a password manager that makes this easy. It safely stores all of your logins so you don't have to remember all of your different passwords. And it doesn't just store passwords, it can also store credit card details, shipping info and notes, all very securely. NordPass can automatically notify you of suspicious or phishing websites, keeping you safe online. It will also regularly check for data breaches and tell you if your logins or credit card data has been compromised so that you can take action before the criminals do. NordPass uses zero-knowledge architecture, which means your data is encrypted before it ever hits their servers for syncing and backup. So for a limited time only, you can get 50% off a 1-year premium plan by going to nordpass.com/Oliur or using the coupon code Oliur. I'll leave a link to it down in the description below. So I want to quickly go over my sort of use case, why I use the MacBook Pro and what I was using before. So I had a 5K iMac, a 2019 model, and I had 24 gigs of RAM in it. I also had a 1TB SSD. I also upgraded the graphics card when I ordered it. And yeah, it was a fantastic machine. I loved the big 5K display. It had an array of ports and it was also very, very quiet. However, ever since I purchased the Sony a7S III, which is what I'm using to record these videos, my iMac just couldn't handle the files. Because the Sony a7S III records 4K up to 120 FPS, 10-bit 422 footage, which is heavily compressed, my iMac was just struggling to play any of the footage or edit any of the footage. I'd get so many drop frame rates when I'm editing video in Final Cut Pro and it would just refuse to play the files smoothly. It was an absolutely terrible experience. So I just thought to myself, hey, let's purchase a MacBook Pro. Let's see what it's like. Let's see if it can play my Sony a7S III footage, and let's also see if I can edit and do all of my work on it. And ever since then, I haven't looked back. I actually ended up switching completely over to the MacBook Pro as my main machine, and I sold the iMac because I just didn't need it anymore. So with my machine, I did upgrade the RAM from 8GB to 16GB, and I also upgraded the SSD from 512 to 1TB. And the main reason for that is 16GB of RAM, I'm going to be doing photo editing, video editing, and I'm going to have a lot of programs open at once. And with 1TB SSD, I'll be editing footage and stuff. I want to be able to bring projects over to my main machine. And I didn't think 512GB was enough. However, I do still think 8GB of RAM and 512GB of SSD is going to be good enough for most people who don't do heavy work, who do a lot of sort of document editing, spreadsheets and things like that. If you were to upgrade something, I think upgrading the RAM is worth it, going from 8GB to 16GB. I just think it makes more sense because if you did need more storage, you can just usually attach a hard drive. And you can use cloud services a lot these days to store a lot of your documents, a lot of your stuff. Because that's what I do. I have a lot of my photos and videos and stuff just stored up in the cloud. I don't actually have them sitting on my computer. When it comes to using my MacBook Pro, I actually have it connected up to an external display 90% of the time. And the reason for that is I like having the screen estate. I love having a bigger screen. I do actually think 13 inches is a bit too small, but that's just because of graphic design and design in general and coding and video editing. Just having a nice display, having a big, large display, having multiple windows open is fantastic. I have it connected to the LG 5K ultrafine display and yeah, it works really well. I can just power and use the display all with one cable. I've had no issues with the resolution and the fans don't come on either. I do remember when I used to have an Intel based MacBook Pro, a 13-inch, and I used to connect it up to just a 4K display, the fans used to come on. But yeah, no fans at all when connected up to an external display. So my main workflows consist of editing photos in Lightroom, editing videos in Final Cut Pro, designing in Sketch and Figma, and also coding in Atom and using CodeKit to compile my code. The most impressive thing for me though is just editing video in Final Cut Pro. Like I said, I shoot on the Sony a7S III and I shoot a lot of 4K 120 FPS 10-bit 422 footage, and it just handles it like it's nothing. It really amazes me how well it works. Okay, so I want to quickly demonstrate how powerful this is with 4K 120 FPS footage. We have a 4K 120 FPS clip here, and if we play it, it's not been slowed down. This is just a clip straight in. And then what we'll do is we'll slow it down. Custom. We'll put in 20% like so, and then we'll also drag in my color grade like so, and if we play it we can see buttery smooth, no proxies or anything, nothing like that. If we look at the actual settings as well, if I zoom in, we can see that we're using the original footage and we're using better quality. So yeah, it really is amazing how powerful this thing is when it comes to using very heavily compressed Sony a7S III footage. It's even more impressive when you think about how the M1 Max don't actually have a dedicated graphics card. It's all handled by the M1 chip, and I have a PC rig with a 2080 Super on it, so a pretty powerful GPU. It can't even play my Sony a7S III footage smoothly. I tried editing some videos in DaVinci Resolve and it just stutters like crazy. It's not smooth playback, and rendering also just takes forever. However, if you're someone who does a lot of 3D work, works in 3D programs and needs a dedicated GPU, I don't think this really is the machine for you. I would recommend waiting for when Apple update the other machines with dedicated graphics, because you're going to see significant improvements there, especially in programs like Blender and Cinema 4D. You do need a dedicated graphics card for those sorts of things. So if that's what you're working, this isn't the machine for you. I would highly avoid it. Get a proper PC rig with a dedicated graphics card. Now you're probably wondering, Oliur, I don't shoot videos, I don't edit videos, I don't care about editing videos or anything like that. And I completely understand where you're coming from. But the reason why I bring it up and the reason why it really is impressive is because if a machine like this can edit heavily compressed footage that I get from my camera, it can usually handle most other things completely fine. I've had a lot of questions about the fan in the 13-inch MacBook Pro that I have. When does it come on? Is it loud? Whatever else. And I've got to say, it rarely ever comes on. When it comes to doing day-to-day stuff, it literally never comes on. The only time that I've had it come on, and this doesn't even happen every time, is when I'm rendering a video from Final Cut Pro. And it doesn't even do it for every single video. It only does it for the odd video here and there. When I'm editing photos in Lightroom or designing stuff in Sketch and Figma or just coding, I don't think the fan has actually ever come on. It's completely silent. One of the biggest concerns that I've seen for a lot of people is switching from an Intel machine to an ARM-based machine and running apps which are designed for Intel and whether they will work on the M1 Mac. And to be honest, I don't think I've come across any apps that haven't worked. I'm sure there are some out there that don't work, but I can't even tell which apps are Intel and which apps are designed for the M1 chip. The only way you can really tell is actually going into Activity Monitor and seeing what it's listed at under the Architecture tab. Day to day, I actually don't think you're going to notice any difference at all. Of course, M1 optimized apps are even more powerful and make better use of the battery life and the M1 chip. But even when it comes to using Intel apps, you shouldn't actually see any performance decrease. If anything, you'll probably see performance increases. So I did mention earlier in the video that I use my MacBook Pro connected up to a display 90% of the time. However, 10% of the time when I do actually use it as a MacBook, the battery life has been fantastic. I can easily get through a day, as long as I'm not doing crazy heavy tasks like photo editing or video editing. But even just designing in Sketch and Figma, coding, things like that, battery will easily last a day. I won't have to plug it in. So I don't think battery life is going to be an issue for most people. It's really amazing how Apple have optimized the M1 chip to deliver such great battery life. So there have been two issues for me using the MacBook Pro when it comes to my workflow. Number one being Bluetooth connectivity dropping. So when using an external keyboard and using an external mouse, Magic Mouse, the amount of times that the Bluetooth connectivity will just drop throughout the day. It'll be like 3 or 4 times where the Magic Mouse on my keyboard will just stop working. It will tell me on screen that they've just disconnected. Who knows why? For a few seconds, nothing will work. And then suddenly it will just work again. It is so incredibly frustrating, and Apple have acknowledged that there is an issue and they are working on it, but I don't understand why it's taken 2 or 3 months. It's still not fixed yet. Who knows when a fix is actually coming. But yeah, anyone who uses Bluetooth devices, be prepared for your Bluetooth connection to drop. It even affects AirPods as well. I've seen so many people on Twitter complaining about it as well. It's just not nice at all. The second issue I've been having is with external displays. So when I have this connected to my LG 5K Ultrafine monitor, I go to bed, so I let the laptop go to sleep. I wake up in the morning, maybe once a week, it just won't recognize the display. Whatever I do, the display doesn't come on. Nothing happens. I can see that it's connected because I have power coming to the MacBook, so clearly it's connected, but for some reason it just doesn't recognize the display. And the only way to fix it is to disconnect it and connect again, which I guess isn't the biggest deal in the world, but it is a bit of faff. I feel like it just shouldn't be happening. To be fair to the MacBook, these two issues are external issues. If you use the MacBook as a MacBook, you use the keyboard, you use the mouse, and you use headphones that are connected in, you shouldn't have any issues at all, really. You shouldn't have the same issues that I'm having. But these are two issues to take into consideration. if you're going to be using external mouse, external keyboard, and external displays. So when I look at my notes here, the most common question that I've been getting is, should you upgrade from your current machine or should you wait for the next generation? And to be honest, this is an impossible question to answer because everyone's use case is different. If you need a laptop right now, maybe your laptop is just ridiculously slow or it's affecting your workflow, whatever else, then yeah, who cares about waiting for the next generation? Get a MacBook right now, get an M1 MacBook right now. It will change your workflow completely. Should you upgrade from an Intel-based machine that's from 2018, 2019, or 2020? Again, this really basically goes down to your use case and what you're using your laptop for. If your laptop feels slow, feels laggy, and again, it's like affecting your workflow, and you do a lot of video editing, coding, designing, whatever else, go for it. I think it's actually a really great machine to upgrade to. I don't think you're going to complain about it, and it's going to last you quite a few years, no problem. Should you wait for the 2021 machines? Now, there have been rumors that Apple are going to bring out next generation devices this year, 16-inch MacBook Pro, new iMac, new Mac Pro, maybe even a mini Mac Pro, all with new chips, their own chips. However, these are just rumors, nothing is actually confirmed. Apple might not announce anything, but I do personally think they are going to announce new machines this year. If you can wait, then sure, why not wait for the next generation of machines? If it's not affecting your workflow and you're not actually in a rush to upgrade, then sure, wait. But at the same time, you've got to sort of look at it like, when the next generation comes out, are you going to wait for the next generation? Are you going to wait for the next generation after that? It's just a vicious cycle. Just get the machine that you need right now. If you need a machine right now, get it. If you don't need a machine right now, be patient, wait for it. It really does come down to your own use case. But from my experience, from using the MacBook Pro for the last 2 months, it has just been amazing. I can do all of my work on this machine and it handles it like a dream. No problems at all, especially when I have it connected up to an external display. Having that 5K resolution, being able to have all of that screen estate is fantastic. If Apple do release a 16-inch MacBook Pro this year with their own chip and with dedicated graphics, then I think I might upgrade, because anything that makes my workflow faster, I'm going to upgrade it because it makes it worth it for me from an investment standpoint. I do YouTube, I do coding, I design. All these things make me money. Anything that can make me money quicker, it's worth putting the money into, it's worth investing into. So it will be interesting to see what Apple comes out with this year, if they come out with anything at all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter and subscribe for more.